For thousands of years, men have been driven to deep thought by a statement in the Upanishads, which speaks of the essence of every being as that great one who is joy without rejoicing. This is an affirmative teaching, but not one which may be, quote, believed. For unless made the subject of reflection, it means nothing. A statement of this sort is food for the higher mind. It immediately suggests the question, what is happiness? And may lead the individual to intelligent introspection, to quest for the nature of reality along such a line of thought as this. Joy, I feel that when physical vitality is high, when the current of life runs strong in my body. I feel it too when I find my mind and my soul growing, creating, enlarging and deepening my field of awareness. Always in striving, rather than in past attainment, do I experience what seems the truest happiness. And around me I observe that men who have fulfilled what they imagine to be their highest aspirations find that the joy of effort and struggle needs yet another incentive to call it into action. This implies that the deepest essence of man is will, the action of spirit attempting to conquer a stubborn world of matter, that the search for the fountain of youth is a quest for endless objectives to impel the soul toward growth. Yet the spirit of man cannot grow, for spirit must be the essence which makes growth possible, the power to grow. Nevertheless, from this same spirit must come the joy in increase of strength and power, which follows either physical or mental effort. There must then be a direct relation between physical vitality and the vitality of spirit, the former being a reflection of the latter. Perhaps the sun worshippers knew this, and chose the source of physical life as a fitting symbol of the source of life spiritual. The capacity to grow must exist on every plane of human nature, and therefore be the secret of fundamental unity between every degree of evolving intelligence on all planes. The self of matter and the self of spirit can never meet. It is written in the voice of the silence. Yet, in every organism of evolving life, there is both form or matter, and the spirit behind the form, the latter being the essence of intelligence. When matter is resolved to its ultimate elements, it, as well as its ensouling intelligence, becomes a metaphysical or spiritual entity. If matter and spirit are ultimately the same in kind, why do not the self of matter and the self of spirit meet everywhere in all things? In the solution of this question is hidden the secret of the problem of good and evil. For unless there were elements in human nature in profound opposition, there could be no moral problem. The self of spirit means our consciousness of spirit, reflecting itself in our higher desires to realize a universal brotherhood. The self of matter, on the other hand, is our consciousness of matter, our perception of the attractions of a separative and irresponsible existence, wherein power over the lower orders of beings may be exploited. Therefore is man torn between his desire for selflessness, or unity, with the purposes of all nature, and his desire to linger in the half-human realm of purely personal and separative desires. Hence, man has two natures rather than one, and their purposes are incompatible. The higher self rejoices, while the personal self is miserable. And when the personal self is exalted, the spiritual self protests with pangs of conscience. The popular maxim, "It is not wise to carry water on both shoulders," expresses intuitive recognition that the self of matter and the self of spirit can never meet, that one of the twain must disappear. There is no room for both. The pilgrimage of evolution is made difficult because the wayfarer supposes that some water must be carried on each shoulder, and because mankind learns only through long experience how to lighten the unnecessary burden. The water on the right shoulder is nourishing to growth of soul. The water on the left, without sustaining refreshment, however pleasant to the taste. Strangely, too, the draughts taken from the left-hand vessel do not make the burden easier by diminishing its weight, but rather tend to increase the volume, while if unselfishness and intelligent purpose are used to quench the thirst, the burden on the left becomes lighter as its contents evaporate. Hence the saying, "He who seeks happiness finds it not." To continue the analogy, the water of the left-hand vessel finds its rightful use as a cooling vapor, which dissipates of itself in the progress of time. And while the pilgrim is still engaged in traversing the difficult path of human evolution, this vapor allows him to breathe more easily, offering the fitting enjoyments of normal personal life. Farther on the path, even the vapor is unnecessary, for it has been released and transformed by the fire of understanding devotion. When the pilgrim has reached this stage, however, he no longer seeks to quench his thirst from the vessel of desire. He perceives, too, that the fault was not in the water, but in the use to which it previously had been put. As vapor, it may be absorbed by the pilgrim, transformed and refined to a part of himself. But this water is then no longer the self of matter. It has become the self of spirit through rightful use. The most profound truths may emerge from reflection on a paradox, and from a desire to resolve its discordant elements into a higher synthesis. Whether the paradox is brought sharply to attention by the contrast between professed motives and human action, or whether suggested by a passage of ancient scriptures, meditation upon the problem can produce much more than an intellectual solution. That which applies to any part of nature applies in degree to ourselves. Observation turned inward may become self-knowledge, and self-knowledge is the only guide to intelligent action.